the fact that he gets to meet his parents, they are alive, and they're in the Bottle City. He can visit them whenever. That's so nice. It's so nice.
Makes me laugh too. He's like, well, okay, I guess I'll figure this out later. Bye.
Yeah. You guys are going to be tiny for a while. Gotta go. What are we chatting about? Look at you. What's that stack behind you? You got it.
I got it. Yeah. These are a bunch of books that Nathan gave to me not long ago.
Some Superman archives I see. Those are awesome. Some of the 90s Superman.
Mm-hmm.
How is Nathan doing, by the way?
He's doing pretty good. He's doing good. He's doing well.
Tell him I said hi, because we literally haven't talked in a million years.
I will. But yeah, on your recommendation, I picked up this.
Yes.
Actually, I ordered it. I tried to get it at Nan's, but they didn't have it. I did pick up, but I didn't read this yet. This is the only thing in that
Batman
that
66.
series.
But I
just
think
the first volume.
Oh, it's just the first volume. Gotcha.
Yeah, which I haven't read this yet, but it looks great. I mean, the art.
It's just so fun, man.
Yeah,
they nailed the period.
Yeah, this I absolutely love.
Of course. That's on my side. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I forgot to tell you, I live on the mean streets, Chad.
Yes.
The mean streets.
There's a couple of things about this that made me laugh. That some of the choices they made, like he actually does the cellophane S.
Yes.
And throws it at the robots at one point. Yeah. I was like, whoa, wow. Okay. They went there.
They do that in Batman 66 too, where they'll sort of lean into some of the things that fans find really cheesy, but they just find a way of like, come on, we know it's cheesy, but you kind of want it to, right? Like, yeah, maybe so.
The other thing I thought was funny is that Lex Luthor somehow got out on parole after stealing nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Like, what?
I thought the writer did a really good job though of capturing like their voices, because when you're reading it, you can actually hear it in their, the actors. I'm hearing them in my head. Yeah. And I thought that was really well done. And of course the art's really good. Just real clean art. Clean.
Can I ask you, when you were reading Jor-El's parts, were you saying Krypton?
Yes, I was saying Krypton, and I was lisping slightly. My son, it is so wonderful to see you again. My son. Did you do that thing that I told you not to do with the flying through time? Oh, my son. My son. Wow. I'm so disappointed in you, my son. Of course I did. And of course, that goes straight to the feels. I mean, the fact that he gets to meet his parents, they are alive, and I guess they're still alive at the end of it. But, they're in the Bottle City. He can visit them whenever. That's so nice. It's so nice.
It was kind of makes me laugh too. He's like, well, okay, I guess I'll figure this out later. Bye.
You guys are going to be tiny for a while. Gotta go. They'll do a sequel. I mean, all these have sold pretty well. Wonder Woman 77 has had a few. Batman 66 obviously has had the most, and they've done a bunch of crossovers. Like they've had crossovers with other 60s things, like of course Green Hornet and Kato, but also Man from U.N.C.L.E., Steed and Mrs. Peel, the Avengers. They've had crossovers, all these characters that are period specific. They did a Batman 66 Wonder Woman 77 crossover where Batman and Wonder Woman meet, but it's Adam West and Linda Carter. Pretty great.
Nice.
That's great. Any day now they'll be doing a Justice League. Any day now they'll be doing a Justice League with Adam West, Batman, Christopher Reeve, Superman, and oh man.
Beautiful idea, yeah.
I know.
It reminds me of a lot of the Alex Ross has done so many posters where he combines those versions of the characters, so it's great to actually see it being done. That was the other thing I really liked about that. There's so many cameos in this. Oh yeah, Alex Ross style. He's got there's Richard Pryor's in there, presumably playing the same character he does in Superman 3. The Goonies show up on one.
I think some of that. I mean, obviously the Goonies is way out of time. It's just instead it's just sort of like, this is fun for me, the artist. It's just like when you read. I'm sure as a kid maybe you read Superman versus Muhammad Ali. That classic thing from the 70s. Drawn by, the great departed Neil Adams. And in the big fight scene, where it's the aliens have set up this boxing and Superman and Muhammad Ali are fighting. It's this double page spread, and Neil Adams filled the audience with people of the time, like celebrities. It's cool. Almost like the Sgt. Pepper cover where you're sitting there going, and in fact, I think because this is pre the death of John Lennon, it's like, there's John Lennon and Yoko are in the audience, and there's Dick Cavett. I mean, it's just like, great. Of course, all these people would be there. There's Johnny Carson enjoying it. It's pretty great. Superman does get his ass handed to him by Muhammad Ali, though. But they set it up that this was their plan, is that Superman took a dive on purpose. Muhammad Ali is working with Superman. I see. Good stuff. Anyway, what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, I think we need to get this out of the way because we've touched on it. Get this out of the way. And yeah. So do you remember when it was announced that he was doing it? Like, were you concerned about how it was going to turn out? How it was going to come out? Because we already had Watchmen at that point, right?
Right. We'd had 300. We'd had Watchmen, and actually, I was very excited because Watchmen is not, I mean, it's far from perfect, but I kept thinking, wow, I couldn't imagine anyone doing a better job of taking that ridiculously huge story, complex story, and putting it in 2.5 hours. I thought he did a good job with that. Was he too slavish to the comic? You know, like, I want to match panels and stuff. Like, yeah, the best part of it's the opening, which is not based on any of the panels because he condenses all that history just into the opening credits. He does an amazing job there. 300 was good. I mean, I'm just not so much into Bowflex ads and body oil, but other than that, it was a fine film. And then, so I was cautiously excited. I was most nervous about the fact they said, because they said because of Christopher Nolan's success with the Batman films, that he would be overseeing this. Like, he was DC's choice to oversee a Superman film directed by Zack Snyder. And I was sort of like, well, those characters are very different. I mean, just because he had a huge success with Batman doesn't mean he gets Superman at all. So I was worried about that. Turned out I didn't need to be, because I think Christopher Nolan literally just was like, sounds like you guys are off and running. Thanks, God. Bye. Yeah. Just check. Yeah. What I should have been worried about was Zack Snyder's idea of what makes these characters special. And that's the big problem. And he has said in interviews, he goes, I'm a huge DC fan. People think I'm not, but I am. I love these characters. I see them as modern gods. And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. He really loves the idea of them being these iconic figures. And he wants it all to be about, slow-mo. And even that scene where all the people are reaching out to touch Superman is done like this creepy King of Kings, Jesus Christ thing. And I'm like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. It's literally him taking cats out of trees and talking to old folks sitting on benches and stuff. It's like, he's not standing above us. He's walking with us, man. That's the whole point. So he's wrong about the character, and he does some great visual sequences. The man can shoot a fight scene, but I'm sitting there going, if you don't get the character right, you've fucked up. If you get to the end of your movie and you think the only thing that Kal-El can think to do is snap somebody's neck, you are wrong, sir. You're very wrong. Yeah. Plus, why is he fighting in downtown Metropolis when he could easily have knocked Zod to some empty part of Alaska or something? It's like,
yeah. Even in Smallville, he was doing that too. I mean, the first thing he does, like, you leave my mom alone. And he pushes them all the way into downtown Smallville and destroys everything there. Like, what are you doing?
I was most worried about that IHOP.
Yeah.
Product placement. Boy, that was interesting. But no, it is a stupid thing. You're like, okay, I know that in the cinematic universe, that's our introduction to Superman. And I'm like, they're implying he's done some other stuff, but he's still pretty new. But at the same time, it's like, look, man, even a rookie mistake, you don't have a super powered battle near civilians. You get them out of there. But he had to have his destruction. And then when it comes to the Metropolis scene at the end, and it becomes, 9/11 was traumatic for everybody. How about I take 9/11 and multiply it times 20? Just because effects can be that realistic, maybe we don't need that, because there was PTSD coming off that movie.
That plus the fact that he expresses no remorse for all those thousands of people who probably 1 million people died in that destruction. I mean, it was insane.
And you know the scene I was talking about too, there's that weird pause in the battle where he has saved Perry and Lois, but the battle's not over yet. And he stops to kind of like flirt with Lois for half a second, and she gives him a peck. And you're like, I'm sorry, my Superman would literally be like, can't stop. He hears people trapped in rubble right now. He should. And he should be like, and he can do this quickly. There are several hundred people I need to save right now. It shouldn't be about like, so do anything after the apocalypse?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'd ever date somebody in skin tight clothes, but I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. Compare this to Superman 2, where there is the battle going on in the middle of Metropolis, and he's freaking out the whole time. He's like, "Oh God damn it!" Constantly. Actually, that's true people.
Because they don't write big chunks in it. It's and I like Henry Cavill, I really do, and the man looks amazing. And I think, given a good script and a director, he would have been a fine Superman. But I'm sure he was directed just to be this like badass, as if it's almost like Zack Snyder through the whole movie is worried about people thinking Superman's a pussy. So he's like, you've got to, everything is gritty and just be badass, man. And people will never take Superman lightly again. No, that's not the take. But what we just talked about in Superman 2 is totally on point. Just Christopher Reeve's reactions to everything, he's half looking at the people who are trying to beat him up. And most of the time, though, he is looking over and just like going, oh, he is worried. I love that.
That's why he leaves. Yeah. Which was a great moment. Like, he decides the only way I can fix this is to get out of here to end this destruction. It's a pacifist move.
The destruction is not as apocalyptic as it would be because of effects, but also, I mean, from reading comics of the time, I was totally satisfied with that super battle. It's like Superman throws the guy, Non or whatever, into the big Coke sign and stuff. And did that building get some chunks knocked off of it? Yeah. Did anyone die? No. I just sit there going, you don't have to have that for realism's sake. If you want to have that big ending to Man of Steel, that's fine. But show Superman doing the job and show Superman saving people and being concerned. It still is epic. I mean, the guys, they have that tribute to the Fleischer thing where he's literally fighting his way through that beam. And I'm like, that's like the Fleischer cartoon where he's actually hitting a laser beam. It's just, I mean, it's ludicrous, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, hit that force beam back. Teaching a lesson. Battle flashlight. Boom, boom. But Battle Flashlight, by the way, will be my next band. But it's just another world that Snyder wanted to bring. He wanted it to be huge. And on one hand, I do appreciate we've gotten to a level with effects for Superman is you can show him beating the shit out of superhuman people, flying for miles, getting knocked through the Earth's surface, all that stuff. But yeah, you still have to make him a hero, man. Sorry, you do.
Yeah.
So I did not like that movie. And I mean, they get everything wrong. Pretty much, they reverse everything you're expecting. And it's almost like Zack Snyder's doing it with a wink. We talked about Pa Kent last time. Like,
yes,
even that is a misfire. And you can just see Snyder going, I've thought about it, see? He wouldn't tell him to go out there and help people. He'd say, hide for your own safety. Hide for your own safety. That's a great lesson, Pa.
Yeah.
Fuck that movie.
I know. And I mentioned this the first time we talked about this movie. I talked about one of the reasons why I despise this film is because it made me hate Pa Kent.
I know.
When he showed, I know you didn't see Batman v Superman, but he shows up as a ghost in that one, like a memory.
Again, I still haven't heard how that legal case ended up. Who won? Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Who got custody of Jimmy Olsen?
right. But when Jonathan Kent shows up in the next film, when he shows up in the next movie, there you go. I'm like, boo, get out of here, Jonathan Kent, you suck.
Which
I hated feeling that way about the character.
You shouldn't feel that way.
No.
Did he say something equally stupid as a ghost?
It was like, I forget. It was some fatherly wisdom thing. Yeah.
Is it after he dies? Is his dad waiting to take him into heaven or something?
No. It's during some Superman's like up on top of a mountain somewhere, and it turns around and his dad is there. It's just in his head. I think it's supposed to be just a memory.
Okay, so he's insane. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Bruce. I'm having these weird visions, man. I'm having these weird visions. You need help, Clark. You need serious help. Your dad doesn't show up and talk to you on mountains? I actually, because of this podcast, I got very close a few days ago watching Batman versus Superman, because it's just sitting there on, HBO Max, and I was like, should I just do it and get it over with? I'm like, I just don't know, man. I have a feeling I'm going to hate it. Because I hated Man of Steel.
Yeah. There are some things that, again, Superman's character, his just some really bad dialogue too.
Sure.
Just childish dialogue.
Here's another thing that's a strength of what Feige has done. Feige is not only overseeing a connected universe, which is nothing that, like anything that's been done before, pretty impressive, but he always finds good people. And that goes for the directors, certainly, but also the writers. I look at those MCU movies, even the weakest ones are written better than the best of the DC movies. People say like Shazam and Wonder Woman and Aquaman are all fun DC movies. I'm like, I liked parts of all of them. Wonder Woman probably the best, but even so, I look at them going, this is weak writing compared to what the Marvel guys are doing. And all they do is like, let's up the quips. So Aquaman is funny, and Captain Marvel is wacky. Wonder Woman even has all these little bits in it. I'm like, okay, it's not what I was asking for, but at least it's not as grim as fucking Man of Steel. Was there anything in Man of Steel you liked?
Yeah, well, that the sequence where he's kind of roaming around like Bruce, like David Banner from the series, and he's doing what his dad told him not to do. I like that he's actually figuring out ways to save people without sort of. That's himself.
Taken from the fairly recent comics where they were examining the years before he puts on the suit, where he's just wandering and kind of helping people and getting an idea of his powers, and also just visiting the world. Yeah, because I love the American way part of Superman, but I love him as a hero of Earth. Damn it, he cares for everybody. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to get all angry.
That's true, but yeah, that scene where he's rescuing the people on the oil rig. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
More of that. I thought where was
more of that, please? Excuse me, Mr. Snyder. I'll have an extra helping of that. But I like. The flying sequence is great. Literally with him kind of going past the speed of sound and leaving sonic booms in his wake, and they put it in the trailer, that whole thing with him landing, and it's just weirdly that vibration through the earth as he's getting ready to take off. It is very powerful. It's visceral. And I'm like, oh, that's an awesome take on him flying. Too bad he's flying into some shit and bad writing. The end of that movie. Okay. All right. Here are things, Chad, I need to talk about. I just roll up your sleeves. I got to talk about it. But here's the thing is, don't roll up your sleeves, actually. I don't need to be invited to the gun show. At the end of that thing where the whole... this movie played so loose with the idea of a secret identity. By the end of this movie, who the fuck is going to be fooled by fucking glasses? The government knows who he is. He brings down that drone, and it's in Smallville, and he's like... don't let me ever see this thing again. Get out of here, you. And he shakes his fist. And Lois is there, and then in Justice League, you got Bruce bringing furniture to the Kent farm and all that nonsense, and because they're buddies. And I'm like, does anyone not know? Because Superman had this huge fight out in Smallville, Kansas, that the world knows about. The drones were there. The government knows about it. The fight seemed to center around a obscure little farm owned by a family called Kent. And then Kent ends up in Metropolis as a reporter wearing glasses. No one's ever going to be fooled by this. It was so weak at the end of it, where he shows up at the Daily Planet with glasses on, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Clark." And he's like, "Hi. You guys know I'm Superman, right?" I mean, you totally know it, right? Yeah. I'm not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
It felt so tacked on, and there's just there was no logic to the way. If you want to change things about the established canon, you better do it smart. You better earn it, and then we'll go, oh, well, I mean, if this movie had said he just didn't do a secret identity and everyone knows that Clark Kent is Superman, I would not have enjoyed it, but it would have felt more logical to the way that story progressed. Instead of him like going, oh shit, I guess I should pretend I'm not this guy. Okay. Hoop doop doo.
Yeah, and that was something I thought that Bryan Singer did well in Superman Returns, was addressing the alter ego issue.
Yeah,
it's like the heart. It's a classic thing. It's like he just puts on glasses and nobody knows who he is. They address that. But first, there's a little scene where his son seems to recognize him, but they don't go anywhere with that, unfortunately. But his son looks up, sees him on TV, and then he's like,
yeah.
It occurs. The son. It's hinted that the son
figured it
Jason,
out.
I think his name, figured it out, but he doesn't say anything. But then there's a scene too where Richard and Lois are in the Daily Planet office, and they say they're just kind of goofing around. It's like, wait a minute, how tall is Superman? They're looking over at Clark, and Clark, of course, who can hear them as they don't show in that scene, but throughout the movie, you hear him hearing conversations, across the room or in the next room, and he looks over and just waves goofily at them, and they go, what were we thinking? He's a total goof. He can't possibly be Superman. That was a great moment.
Yeah. One of his powers is super acting. So that's another thing, is he's so convincing. Man, do you think they'll ever do a movie where he uses super hypnosis or super ventriloquism or any of the weird things he's never had in the movies? I was surprised in Justice League. Okay, Justice League is not good. Okay, but it has little bits. They actually had him do the super breath for half. I was like, holy shit, I forgot. Snyder has him blow on the big axe that Steppenwolf has and shatters it. And I was like, oh, super breath. You're still not getting me, Zack Snyder. You're still not getting me. But you gave me a little bit that I enjoyed. Thank you.
Yeah, there was some good moments, like when I didn't like the whole thing where they have to resurrect him in this weird way, which wasn't even the way it was done in the comics.
No.
But when they had to battle him,
mother boxes.
Yeah. The whole idea of him getting confused about his memory and stuff and fighting them was kind of goofy, but I did like that moment where the Flash is running around him.
That's one of the best movies.
He turns and sees that he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yes,
that was a good moment.
I really liked it. It's actually typical comic books. This is the first time, except for Wonder Woman, Batman, that these characters are meeting him. So Aquaman he's shown to be. I think Flash is in awe. Aquaman is like wary. Cyborg is just like, I don't know, I'm just here. But yeah, so I like the idea that, maybe the first time they meet, there's a throwdown, because that's typical comics, and them having him be confused and his mind is all messed up. That makes some sense. Yeah. But that moment with the Flash was the best bit. And even though people hated all the stuff that Joss Whedon put in, he did put in the chase thing at the very end, which again, I was like, all right, they're going to have a race. I like that. That was the post-credit scene where it's like, okay, let's see who's the fastest, and they take off. I'm like, all right. Jesus, I love that shit. You got me. And then the Flash immediately in the race takes a left, and then he forms a commune with a bunch of women and starts hitting people in public. Weird take. Weird take on Barry Allen.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
It is a shame because, I mean, as an actor, I will use their proper pronouns. I've enjoyed what they've done. And even though that's not my idea of Barry Allen, I thought that was a fun character that they did well. And the extended scene in Snyder's Cut with like him at the pet shop and meeting Iris or saving Iris in the car.
That was good, yeah.
Really well done. Good super speed sequence. But again, I'm sitting there going, no, this guy's sorry. You can't really bring a person back from that. They are going to try so hard to sell us on Ezra Miller's stability because they've got this Flash movie coming out, which is already done and it's cost $200 billion.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be replaced. If they continue on another DC movie, I'm sure it'll be somebody else is like, I'm the new Barry Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another reason why I think we're in agreement. They should just reboot everything and start over.
Reboot everything. Start over. Yeah. Zack Snyder was not the guy to give the keys to the kingdom. He is a decent, sometimes really good action film director. Sucker Punch was gross because it was one man's fetishes thrown up on the screen for 2 hours, but there are sequences in it, like visualized action sequences that I'm like, Jesus, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Too bad it's him going, I like girls in skirts and little shoes with swords. Like, all right, man.
That, yeah.
Well, I haven't seen Sucker Punch. Don't. I mean, but again, there are sequences that are great. Yeah. But the guy's take on what he thinks is fucking awesome about the DC universe is just wrong. Wrong. That's why a wonderful Wonder Woman like Gal Gadot seems completely different when she's in her own films, and then she shows up for Justice League or Batman v Superman, which I haven't seen, and she seems like I'm the cousin of that other one. Mm-hmm. It's like, not the Wonder Woman you know, but I'm similar, and I look the same.
Yeah. But that was another thing that went wrong, too. I did... We touched on it briefly on another show a couple weeks ago that the first Wonder Woman was okay, right?
Yeah.
You had a problem with the setting because it was the wrong war.
Yeah, it was like World War I. Jesus Christ, man.
But it was surprisingly good, I thought, compared to everything that had come out up to that point. And then again, then the sequel comes out.
It needed an editor. It needed another pass on the script. It needed a touch up because as good as the casting, because the casting's great. I mean, Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, I wouldn't have put him in the 80s because, again, you're wasting a villain and you have him in and he's out like that. Yeah. But also they're wasting Cheetah, though I guess she could be quasi-immortal. And so neither gets served very well. And Kristen Wiig is great. She has a full character, but her arc is so truncated. It's just like, I'm a nerd. Now I'm feeling it. Now I've got this power and I'm expressing myself and people love me. And then it's like, and I hate you, Diana. Now I'm a werecat lady who's going to tear your face off. Give her an entire movie of Cheetah and give her the time, or give Maxwell Lord the full hour or the full movie. It's just like those X-Men movies. Let's shove a whole bunch of shit in. And I would not, as good as their chemistry is, I would not have brought in Steve Trevor. If he is dead in the first movie and suddenly his body gets booted into someone else's body, which is very disturbing, then you're like, well, that really diminishes his sacrifice in the first movie. I mean, I'd prefer Steve Trevor's always alive and always her love interest, but if you kill him off in the first movie, let him stay dead. She either doesn't have a love interest at all, or you create a new one.
That was I'd forgotten about that. That was something that people were criticizing as being like shockingly immoral. What was going on?
Right.
With his body.
The fact that essentially she's like, well, I know this isn't your body, Steve, but since you're in there, let's bone. And then a guy gets his body back, and you're like, that's just not right. She had her way with that innocent person's body just because her old boyfriend was inhabiting it. Yeah, that's disturbing. But I liked her flying scene was nice. And I liked her, the fight in the mall was actually kind of great because it reminded me of the 70s Superman movies where she's not only a badass hero, she's winking at the kids, and she's like, she just seems very superhero. It was great.
Yeah.
So there were sequences in it but yeah, it's kind of a crazy mess.
Yeah. It was just really weird the way it wrapped up at the end. That speech that she gives that somehow was broadcast to everybody. Like, you just give up the things you want. It'll be fine. Like, that's not going to work.
Yes. Now that was, it's up there with Superman addressing the UN, but yes, it just seemed like in order to fix this, all you have to do is stop wanting shit. Okay, everybody, just don't want anything. Great.
Yeah, it was just really awkward.
But I did like the idea, even though it's not done well. I did like the idea that her ending, the way she fixes things, this is a Wonder Woman thing. I am anti Wonder Woman shield and sword. Like, shield and sword is only in the most dire of situations. The guy who created her, who had a lot of issues, yes, but the guy who created her, she was supposed to be anti-violence. That's why he gave her a lasso. It's this passive thing that holds people. It doesn't hurt them. And so the idea of her being this badass warrior from Themyscira who's got a sword and shield all the time, like going, he's rolling in his grave. It's anti everything he wanted her to be. So I liked the end of her movie as her talking to people. It's like she uses the lasso a lot in the second movie. I'm like, yay. I don't think she really breaks out the sword and shield at all. She does to get that suit of armor, though. This turned into the Wonder Woman cast. It's Chad and Brendan's Wonder Woman cast. But there are still things there's still things about what Patty Jenkins did that suit me much better for DC movies than what Snyder did.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that Snyder's focused on, he feels like a guy whose ideas of the superheroes came out of the 90s. I think, is he younger than us?
Maybe.
I don't know, but it does seem like he's like going, dude, I love superheroes, especially when they fucking kick ass and they beat the shit out of the villains. And if they get hit, you see blood and shit flying out of their mouths. Yeah.
There was one scene in Batman v Superman, which I know you haven't seen. I'm going to spoil this one scene for you, which I'm sure you'd be very upset about.
I've had most of the movie spoiled for me because I have done things like ask people like going, is it as bad as I've heard? And then I hear a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah. It sounds like it's
this is one of those things that, as we mentioned, as a lot of people's big criticism of Man of Steel was the massive destruction at the end that Superman doesn't seem concerned with at all. Yeah. And then in the next movie, there's a court case about that destruction. Right. Where he shows up in court and just as he's about to make a statement to answer for all the people who died in Metropolis, boom, this terrorist bomb goes off in the court and everybody dies except him.
Are you kidding?
No, and I think this was Zack Snyder shooting a finger at everybody who criticized the first film. It was like, I'm not even going to give you an answer. And
holy fuck, that is it's a finger to anyone who cared.
That made me dislike him even more. I was like, come on, Zack, Jesus.
I mean, the idea that Batman it's not a distrust necessarily of Superman's power, but it is like he blames him for the destruction of Metropolis and all of that. I mean, again, I don't like this as a story plot. I don't like that but at least that is a through line. It's like, okay, they're connecting it. But if the way they paid it off is with more violence and then forcing Batman and Superman to throw down, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not asking for, you remember when Byrne rebooted Superman in the 80s, and a lot of the changes made very good sense, like the Kent still being alive. Why should they be dead? He's a grown man and he's got his family. That's great. A lot of the stuff was smart. But when I asked for that version of their first meeting, I always thought that was pretty weak. It's like, I created a villain called Magpie and Superman and Batman meet while fighting Magpie. That was in Man of Steel. I totally
don't remember that.
I know, because I think she really has only shown up twice and John Byrne wrote and drew her both times.
Yeah.
I think she ended up on Suicide Squad at one point, but the whole idea is so lame. I think he was sitting there going, "Ooh, that'll be a character I own, and they'll make action figures." But the whole thing in that first meeting, Byrne has just the distrust of Batman going, you have too much power. I don't trust you. And Superman going, you are far too brutal. I don't trust you. But they have the thing that they used in the animated movie, which Superman's like going, okay, we'll see you later, Bruce. And he's like, he goes, X-ray vision, man. Totally see through your mask. And then he's like going, oh, no, I've shielded it with lead now. Or he or something. He tries to see who he is. And it's like, oh, you can't see through my mask. But so I don't know. I think that Snyder is terrible, and if they stop his reign of destruction of the DCEU, that'd be for the best.
Yeah.
You saw? Did you see the Snyder Cut?
Yeah.
Justice League.
It was definitely an improvement. At least just to see, but there was too much. There was too much stuff, like all the stuff that happened at the end.
Well, all the flashes to this future that's him and Jared Leto's god-awful Joker. And here's the thing. I like Jared Leto as an actor. That guy is fearless and will do whatever. Mm-hmm. But his Joker is the worst interpretation we've ever had. You know what really shows and proves that someone's crazy is when they tattoo "I'm crazy" all over themselves and "ha ha ha ha" all over themselves. The whole idea of that is annoying, not because I'm anti-tattoos, but it's just so I'm like, the thing about the Joker is he's not that calculated. He is living his own ideal of what his life is, and he doesn't need to prove he's crazy by tattooing "I'm nuts" on his body.
Yeah.
It's his actions. Okay. Yeah. God, that scene with him and Harley Quinn in is it Birds of Prey? Where no, he only shows up briefly in Birds of Prey. Which one is it?
I didn't see that.
The first Suicide Squad, maybe. Where basically it's him in the club, and it's the Joker hanging out with a bunch of drug dealers, and he's like going, "You looking at my girl? You want a piece of that?" And they have Margot Robbie, poor girl, dancing around in booty shorts, and I'm like going, "Yeah, that's perfect Joker," because the Joker sits there going like, "You want to slice off a piece of that?" No, Mr. Joker, why not? Now I'm gonna kill you. Bang bang. I hate it. I hate it so much.
What about since we were on this the Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
By what do you think of
Gunn?
That? Yeah,
I loved it.
Loved it. Me too.
James Gunn has a very special talent, which again I always fear. I did hear that DC said, "Do you want to do Superman next?" I mean, Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers.
Talk of that, yeah.
Just like with Christopher Nolan, Warner Brothers sees money, sees the grosses, and then the thing is, they don't care if the person's a good fit. They just go, "You did well. Do you want the big ones now?" And James Gunn turned them down. He goes, "You guys don't get it. I mean, I'm good with these guys, the C-level dudes. And what I do is, I'm a little bit sacrilegious with their backstories, but I always give them heart, which is a real trick that James Gunn's good at. The Guardians of the Galaxy, no one cared about. I mean, I kind of Gamora sort of, but no. So I walk in that with no expectations, and of course it's great. Of course it's great because it's funny when it needs to be and very serious when it needs to be. So he took the characters no one cared about. And that's why I said, give me the Suicide Squad so I can have, Crazy Quilt or whoever the fuck. It's like, I've got Ratcatcher. And I'm like, and you made me care about Ratcatcher 2 in this movie.
Yeah.
Good God. Yeah. Rick Flag, he keeps Rick Flag in there and he makes him a real character. He gets Peacemaker up and running and you're like, holy fuck, I love this.
And what a great show that is too.
My only problem was how they handled Vigilante. I do have a soft spot for Vigilante. And James Gunn did say like, well, no, it's not the character that you guys know from the comics, but really who's going to be sad about Vigilante? And I was like, Me, I kind of
okay. I don't know enough about the character, but yeah.
Ex-DA Adrian Chase becomes this like nerd who works at an Olive Garden or something. I'm like, oh, that's a big switch. It's a big switch. Okay. But did I love the series? Of course I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Justice League shows up at the end.
Yeah, right. Which is weird. Yeah, and so that's the only thing, which I guess it technically is in the Snyderverse, those characters. But it so does not feel like it. And you know, until those, even when they show up, it's like it just seems like this is like a post-credit scene sort of thing. Yes. It's not really happening.
Oh man. I just was like, okay, that's cute, I guess. But it is them trying so hard, Warner Brothers, to make all this stuff connect. Way before they didn't build the foundation right. And as I always say to my friend John, it's like I'm no architect, but if your foundation is weak, built on, you can't keep building on top of it. It doesn't work. You can try course correcting, but the Superman in your cinematic universe is wrong. Your Batman in your cinematic universe is wrong. These are the stepstones. Your Wonder Woman is almost great. But these are the stones you're building on, and it's just not going to work. It's like they just, again, the MCU was a lucky accident. They did the first movie and they nailed the character. And in fact, he was a B level. Iron Man is not who you think they would launch. It's Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk, or the X-Men. They launched with Iron Man and they got fucking lucky. And then they just kept adding strength to strength before they had them meet. By the way, this is how they meet.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is recorded on video so people can see my amazing presentation. Very important
depiction, yeah.
By the way, on video, would you hold up that mug again? Because you've got one of our mugs, right?
I was wondering when you're going to say something. Yes.
I haven't seen one of those in so long. The one I had broke a million years ago. Wow, that is taking me back.
So I very rarely ever use this because I don't want to break it. So, but I love this thing.
Oh, man. I really do wish I could have had the skull design go all the way to the lip. It was supposed to be like you were drinking out of the skull. But they're like, the printable area is only right here. It's a good impression of the people who did the mug. That was a good Dwight Odelius. That was a contribution. He said, let's do mugs.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thanks, Manager Dwight.
And this is all your design, right? You did this.
I think Jerry did the text.
That does look like Jerry's work. Yeah, you're right.
I just did the skull, but I laid it out. I still love Hot Cup of Joe. That was fun.
That is still my favorite Zuzu Spettle song is the title track from Joe. I love that song.
Don 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 do do do. Yeah, it's great.
It's a great groove. Yeah.
And speaking of Bowie, I'm only slightly sliding off topic here. I know we only have a few minutes left. I'm sorry for cutting and running.
We're inevitably going to talk about music on the show. So,
it is true, but I found the cassette you sent me a million years ago of your proposed Ziggy Stardust musical.
Oh, yes. I forgot that I totally didn't remember that I sent you that.
Yes. It was, I think I lost the insert, which is a shame because your insert was you actually breaking it down act by act. But when you listen to the mixtape, I mean, you do get the flow of the story. I'm like, you did a really good job of putting, like you had in mind back then, because this goes back to the early 90s, but you had in mind what has become really popular now, which is the jukebox musical, where you take an artist's music and you build a story around it for the stage. And you did that, man. It was great.
Thank you. I forgot about that. I think I may have my own copy of that. I have somewhere. Yeah, it was very. I remember we talked about it, and you were saying it's a bit long because it was like I think I threw everything in there, and the story I was encompassing. The tape itself is like what?
Well, it's I think
really long, right? So it was a 90-minute tape.
I think it was a 90-minute. Yeah,
it was a 90-minute. Okay, it was a bit too long for a musical, but
you'd have to lose some of the songs. But the flow of, I mean, and you coming up with John being the name of the character who's the normal Earth guy. I actually remember some of this because that works in with John, I'm Only Dancing. and Ziggy coming down with the 5 years and the whole thing, and Starman is actually how he's announced, and he comes. I mean, you had worked it all out, letting everyone know that the Earth will be destroyed in 5 years, and everyone needs to party, and and then it becomes like the 70s drug thing, and it was great.
Yeah, man. I still picture that because my the way I envisioned it was the last song is Rock and Roll Suicide.
Yeah,
and that last chord that strikes at the end, that's the Earth blowing up. Like,
I fucking love it, man.
It'd be so beautiful.
Fucking love it. I did Rock and Roll Suicide for karaoke once, and talk about a song no one's expecting. Give me your hands. It's really not a thing that people are like going, oh, I don't know what you're getting at, man.
Right.
But I love the song, and that would be a great way to end the musical. So get back to work on it. Just start writing it. Contact the Bowie estate. They'll be just, contact his son and just work it out.
Well, apparently David did have an idea for a Ziggy movie, and this is why one of the reasons he turned down Velvet Goldmine when they came at him with that idea, and he said, "No, I've got my own idea for Ziggy. You can't use any of my stuff," and it turned into this weird.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's worth it to watch, but you're constantly doing the thing of like, oh, this is a stand-in for this. This is the story is not solid enough on its own to take you into like, I'm just going to follow these characters. No, instead you're sitting there going, oh, that's the Iggy analog. Oh, this is the Bowie analog.
Yeah.
So you're just interpreting it the whole time. Like with Watchmen is so amazing. You're not constantly sitting there going, oh, Night Owl is Blue Beetle. Oh, Dr. Manhattan is Captain Atom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No one's doing that. But yeah.
But my problem with Velvet Goldmine was not the music or the actors were fine. Obviously, Ewan McGregor was great. The character, the guy, the guy who plays Bowie, the character. I said the way that his character is portrayed, whatever his character's name was, I can't remember now. They lean really hard into just the tartiness of the Ziggy character, but they completely gloss over the really deep intellectual side of Bowie, especially from that period where he's heavy into Nietzsche and all this really heavy concepts.
He's reduced to a caricature because they don't spend enough time. Because the thing I love about Bowie is he was always acting. And so, in other words, the tardy Ziggy thing was both real for him, but if you catch him alone in a room, it's exactly that. He's reading something, he's writing notes, he's a serious-minded guy, but when he's out in public, it's like the spotlight's on, and it's like, this is what you want. It's like, you have to show both sides, because he was more than just like, for a few years, I was just this fey alien guy. And you're like, no, you weren't. You were putting it on and you were enjoying it because it shocked people, but come on. Man. Bowie.
Anyway.
So
did you see Stardust? That the other biopic
I saw Stardust. Yeah. I did.
That was a shame. Again, like really suffering because they couldn't use the music for one thing.
I know. Why do they bother doing these things? Like
I know.
The Hendrix biopic that, what was it, Andre 3000 was in as Hendrix, but they didn't have the rights to the Hendrix music. And you're like, what is the point?
Just stop right there.
Just stop right there. If you don't have the rights, you can't dance around that.
It was a neat idea to tell a story for that particular part of his career. It was a neat idea, even though it wasn't really based. It was based somewhat on reality. I mean, he actually did go to that guy's house. There's pictures of him hanging out in it. So that's cool. But yeah, they had to refer to his so-called like Man of Soul of the World. And the guy's quoting lyrics from Man of Soul of the World, and it's not even. It's some old poem that I looked it up.
Even the lyrics. That's right. Yeah.
Jesus, like, can you comment on these lyrics? And it was something I was like, that's not the lyrics. Why even have that in the movie?
Shut them fucking movie down.
Yeah. Jeez. Anyway.
It's like when that biopic of the Little River Band came out, and they didn't have the rights to Reminiscing. I was trying to think of the most obscure thing. I was like, Little River Band. That just popped in my head. It was like that Doobie Brothers movie they did, and they didn't get the rights to. Doobie Brothers. God. Doobie Brothers hits.
Me by the hand.
Yeah, that one. I love when my old man brain trumps my comedy brain. And I'm like, I'm on a roll. No, I'm not. I got nothing in there. There's nothing there.
Right.
But anywho, you can edit that out. So Zack Snyder's terrible. I will say that I probably is a swell guy. I just don't want him anywhere, and he should keep making movies, but I just don't want him anywhere near the superheroes ever again. His take is just wrong. And the only positive that could come out of perhaps Warner Brothers being jettisoned and sold off is that they have stopped the progress of all these things. Black Adam is coming out because it's done. Flash will probably come out, but they shelved Batgirl and all the other projects. Oh, maybe Shazam 2 will probably come out because that seems to be pretty much done. But maybe Aquaman 2.
So you didn't like Shazam, huh?
I thought the casting was perfect. And parts of it are fun, but man, Jesus, I thought the writing was terrible, and I thought the 7 enemies of man are, being the bad guys he has to fight. I don't like I love the actor, but I don't want pumped up Dr. Savannah. The whole point of Dr. Savannah is he was almost, because everything in Captain Marvel started out as kind of a parody of Superman. So he is a parody of the mad scientist. He should be smaller and nerdier and that big old noggin than Lex Luthor. Instead, you got this badass walking around in a black trench coat and I am Dr. I'm like, no, that's not the point of the character.
Okay.
The 7 enemies of man ended up looking like terrible CG creatures from a bad video game from 14 years ago. Like, the effects are not good. Plus, you have the 7 enemies are sloth, lust, envy, all of those, the 7 deadly sins. And yet when they become real and fighting people, they're just monsters going, ay, 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 ay. I'm like, why not have them represent what they are? What if they're talking into people's ears and causing people to do things instead of having them just be monsters going, mah, 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 and then they get hit in the face? I'm like, this is stupid.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But again, I thought Zachary Levi, it's like he's the saving grace because he's perfect casting. And I thought the updated costume doesn't look as good as an Alex Ross painting of the old style. It's like, just give him the captain flap, give him the collar to the cape. And what's with these like high tech? And again, it's that textured rubber suit. I'm like, no, the captain is corny, man. Give him his belt sash. The fuck you do?
Yeah.
Give him his Buccaneer boots. Yeah. Everybody's afraid of They didn't even give Cap his Buccaneer boots. And you know that pisses me off. Captain America should always have Buccaneer boots. This is what I would be. This is an example, by the way. This is a glimpse of how I'm going to be in the retirement home. And I will be in a room. They'll probably be putting like a blanket over me. I'll be going, because he always rocked the Buccaneer boot. It has the fold, the flap that comes. It's dashing. Yeah, and only this part up is chainmail. Hello? Did my grandparents come? My grandparents, I'm very old. They've been dead for a long time.
Oh, gosh. I think
you'll visit me, won't you, Chad? Will you visit me?
Yes, I would.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And you'll be going, yeah, Buccaneer boots. It's true, Brendan. He did wear Buccaneer boots.
That's right.
They said you're not supposed to have these, but I brought you a personal pan pizza from Pizza. You're the best, Chad.
On that note, let's wrap it up because I know you got to go.
I do. So, I have to leave.
What do you think next week? Greatest American Hero. What do you think?
I would love to talk about it because if nothing else, it has its faults, but what a breath of fresh air it would be to talk about Ralph Hinckley.
Yes. Or Hanley, depending on which part of the season you're
watching. I have the box set. I just love how awkwardly dubbed over it is for a few episodes. It's like, oh no. All because a crazy guy loved Jodie Foster. Yeah, let's talk about that next week.